the next one below that is saving money to borrow immediately to finance consumer purchases. And the result here, the idea with this, is you're building wealth with expenses. Or you might have seen online, building wealth with debt, right? But we'll get into that strategy. This one is just talking about you saving money into a life insurance policy, right? And those same dollars that you're saving, you're intending to use it for a future expense, like buying a car. Buying a car is one of the most popular strategies out of the 5 here that are presented. This is probably the most popular thing I see as it relates to infinite banking, is this idea of buying cars, right? And the notion is that when you buy a car from the dealership, right, the money is gone, you never see it again, it's a depreciating asset, all that stuff. And what they're saying is, okay, you're already saving money to buy a car at some point in time in your life, and the average American switches their cars, say, every 7 years, let's just say. There's some statistic out there, whatever it is. Okay, so the amount of cars the average American will have, say 5, 6 cars, and who knows, that might run you about 100 to like 200,000 a year in an expense, a consumer purchase, right? Buying cars. So the idea is, okay, you are already saving money somewhere to buy this car or finance it. So what infinite banking would suggest in this strategy is you are saving that money in a life insurance policy first. That money is going to grow. You're then going to borrow at a later point in time to finance a consumer purchase, that car. So now you bought the car, and then you're going to pay yourself back what you would have paid to the dealership under the financing terms. It's a little bit more complicated. You got to set, up, basically you got to set up a payment plan for yourself. You got to pay yourself back an interest rate back to the policy that covers the interest, right? And the whole idea is that you are building wealth with the expense of buying cars, right? So it could be buying cars, it could be financing equipment, it could be, running your tax bill through here, a lot of different things, right? That, gets talked about. Now, I'm someone that personally practiced this. I practiced this strategy for a period of time. My personal opinion is that it can work. It also cannot work, right? It can work in your favor, but it can also work against you if you don't run proper math. And then what I'd also say is this is not something I would suggest an individual do for the life of the policy. I wouldn't even suggest doing it for more than 5 to 7 years, right? Especially in the first 5 to 7 years. I think you're creating a negative arbitrage in the beginning, especially if we're dealing with people with consistent income like jobs, careers. I think you might find yourself running into some problems. The other thing I've seen is the human factor. These strategies sound great, but the reality is when you put the person in it, are they actually going to do it, right? Are they actually going to do it? So as we go down these strategies, they get more complicated, and what you have to understand is there's more risk and they look more attractive. They look like you'll get more than this simple one right here, right? And that might be true, right? It might be true. But the problem is the human factor. Will you actually do it? Will you actually pay yourself back what you would have the dealership? So what does that mean? Like, you would have went to the dealership, you put money down, and they give you an interest rate, right? But are you going to have the discipline to pay that same interest rate back to yourself, which means more money went into the policy so that it grew the policy, so that it does create an actual benefit? A lot of people don't. What they do is they save the money to buy the car, they bought the car, then they don't pay themselves back. They don't know how. Something happened, life happened, and now they're not funding it, they're not max funding it as much, and now they got a loan building up with interest, and it can implode on you, okay? So I think it's important for me to dive into that a little bit deeper, especially as we get more and more complicated, right? So that's the third strategy.